The fourth question, we are going to start tonight with Mr. Williams. And the question is, how would you address the lack of affordable housing within the town of Southfold?
Affordable housing is a very serious issue in Southold town. And the challenge is trying to create affordable housing by increasing the density on the land. In my experience as a trustee, an acre of land can effectively filter out the household sewage of a family of four. To get affordable housing, to get a private developer interested, you need to have typically 5 houses per acre. So I think my opinion on this would be to look for buildings in the Halo area that are not being used, or one-story buildings, and work with those building owners to increase the usage to a mixed use, possibly retail downstairs, 1 or 2 apartments upstairs, and also look at other buildings that are just vacant to see where in the code that they could be turned into affordable housing or workforce housing. And there are some opportunities. And affordable housing is a very difficult issue to tackle. There is no easy answer. I've talked to people who want it, but I like it, but I don't want it here. I think it would be better further away from me. So the Hamlet section, again, in the comprehensive plan, it does talk about affordable housing in Hamlet centers, in Halo zones, and also by putting that affordable housing there, you would have a workforce that would help with your business in those Halo zones to work on having vibrant businesses, to give them a better workforce.
Great, thank you. Mr. Dorosky, same question, would you like to repeat it?
Please.
How would you address the lack of affordable housing within the town of Southold?
So affordable housing and providing affordable housing is a vital need for our community. Our local businesses need people to work for them, and our young people need a place to live. Because when young people can't afford to come back and raise their families in the community that they grew up in, we lose generational knowledge and generational memories of what this place was, what our dreams are for the future, and you lose, a sense of neighborliness and what it means to be a good neighbor. Now, in terms of providing affordable housing, I think there's some things that we can do, both big and small. One thing that's interested me recently is exploring eliminating the inclusionary zone buyout, where when individuals are doing subdivisions, currently they're allowed to pay a small amount of money not to build the affordable housing required in the code. I think these people that are subdividing property and building these homes are the best suited to build homes. So we should look at eliminating that buyout. I think we also need to, as a government, act as a facilitator between banks and lenders, between town government, county government,
10 seconds.
and the builders that are going to build this affordable housing. I think we need to focus on putting it in the Halo centers and should focus on walkable downtowns and smart growth strategies. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dorosky. Mr. Semino, same question to you. Do you need to repeat it?
Sure, why not?
All right. If elected, how would you address the lack of affordable housing within the town of Southold?
So, good question for me as a builder. What I would want from local governments is zoning and planning that would assist in locating properties that would be conducive to affordable housing. Whatever strategies the town can implement, I would want to be implementing to encourage developers to locate and work on properties that are actually in the correct spot. When we have affordable housing, we also have to think of the people that are living there are most likely going to need transportation. So we are going to be looking for property probably in the hamlet centers where we have our buses coming through, probably closer distance for walking to stores and shops. Possibility, if it were in Greenport, we have sewage there. We'd have to consider, when we talk about density, as Greg was mentioning earlier, sewage becomes a problem. So if we can use the current sewage systems that we have in Greenport, then areas like that would be most appropriate. So as a builder, I would probably want my local government to be working in conjunction with me, providing possibilities, changes in zoning, changes in planning that would make it much more appealing, so that if it were more density on a property that normally wouldn't be, then we'd want an expedited way of changing that zoning so that it could happen a little bit quicker. But it is very important. Having our children have a home here the way we have a home, I think is extremely important. And something affordable so that generations can continue out here. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stino. Mr. Mueller, last question for you. Would you like to repeat it? Yes, please, repeat. If elected, how would you address the lack of affordable housing within the town of Southold?
I just want to, I'm clapping in my mind and heart for all the civic association meetings that I went to about affordable, attainable housing. Because as a public servant for the school, for the last 20 years, 15, 20 years, we've been talking about declining enrollment. And you guys, as a civic association, invited our superintendent at the time, Ann Smith. I was a member of the audience. So I just want to thank the civics for being on the case, to sounding the alarm, to trying to get things, being the spearhead of this important issue for the survival of our town. And this is a stakeholder issue. It's not necessarily what the town's going to do, but how's the town going to invite everybody that has a seat at the table to tell what the concerns are. Now, I remember when the cottages went in, a lot of people had their pitchforks and their fire sticks out. But if you've ever walked in the cottages, it's like the Wizard of Oz when the only thing's missing is a yellow brick road in Toto. It really is heaven on earth. There's birds chirping, there's hummingbirds, and people were so afraid of their property being devalued. But people have real ownership in the cottages, and the property value has increased. So we have to have, our community is woefully miseducated about the pluses of affordable or attainable housing. And we have to have a multi-pronged approach with stakeholders. We have to bring in experts. We have to talk about how we can deal with our young folks. We have to talk about how we encourage people through our job force to stay here. It's hard. I have 2 jobs. If I didn't have 2 jobs, I'd probably be living in North Carolina, because that's one of the more affordable states. But I'm from Mattituck. I want to be born and raised and live and do the best I can in Mattituck, and I want to be buried next to my parents in Cutchogue. But if we continue with the way affordable housing is, it's not sustainable.
Thank you, Mr. Mueller. They are requesting everyone to hold the mic a little closer. It's hard to hear in the back. And I'm going to actually guess. Mr. Mueller and Mr. Sanino specifically, I always get nervous it's not on. So come up higher, because I don't know if you can hear you. Okay. All right, we successfully made it through the first round. We're now going to go to the second round of the series of 4 questions, where we are going to go back, and Mr. Dorowski will get the first question again. So you guys